One of the most favorite teams and certainly one of the most awaited comebacks. Hey guys, this is Varun Inamdar and welcome to Indian Culinary League. The team that I'm referring to is Super Kings from Chennai and the recipe that I'm dedicating to them is Stuffed Idli. Idlis are a very popular breakfast preparation. Well, generally we serve chutneys or sambar as an accompaniment, but in this case I'm stuffing the chutney inside an idli. The batter, which is fermented overnight, is right here. We have not added salt to this earlier because that would affect the fermentation. Let's add in salt. Well, I've learned this from a lot of South Indian cooks when I used to work in hotels earlier, and salt is something that was never added, at least to the recipe that I have learned and I've been taught. I believe that it affects the fermentation process. Well, if you think otherwise, please go and add in salt. Like I say, always to each its own. Let's give this a mix. You can add in very little water to just adjust the consistency. I don't think it's required because for an idli, this is perfect. It just has to be of a dropping consistency like so. Not runny, not liquidy at all. The batter is fermented, salted and kept aside. Let's now move on to making the chutney. For this, I'm of course making a nice classic coconut chutney. I've taken some sliced coconut. To this, I'll be adding in fresh coriander leaves. Wash them nicely. You can just tear them roughly and that should be perfect. To spice it up, I'm going to use green chillies. You can just break them roughly. Let's move on to just a small knob of ginger, 1 or 2 cloves of garlic. To this, I'm adding in some curry leaves, some lemon juice, salt, and finally, I'm just adding in a few grains of sugar, and this is just to bring out the flavor and not to make the chutney sweet. Let's grind this. Let's add in just a tablespoon of water. Let's check the chutney. Well, this looks perfect. Let's transfer this in a bowl. Now that the chutney is ready, let's move on to stuffing the idli. What we are going to require for this is definitely an idli steaming mold. Just to bring out extra flavor, I'm going to brush the mold with a little bit of ghee. Well, this also helps in releasing the idli once it is nice and steamed. I'm being a little generous with the ghee because I want that nice flavor within the stuffed idlis. Similarly, let's brush all the molds. Well, like I said earlier, idlis are generally served with chutneys or sambar. But of course, then it becomes a little difficult to carry for picnics and tiffins. But a stuffed idli is an answer to all of that. Well, the molds are nicely greased with ghee and ready. Let's now spoon in a tablespoon of idli batter in each of the molds. The next step is to stuff this with some chutney. I'm taking a small spoon and just dropping it right in the center of the idli. Do not play around too much with this because you may just end up marbling the batter, and that's not that we're looking at. Well, similarly, you can make a lot of chutneys. You can make a tomato chutney, you can make a red chutney. Well, that is a complete personal choice. Finally, I'm adding in half a tablespoon of idli batter again, and that is just to cover the chutney up. The next step is to tap all of this once again. And similarly, let's move on to stuffing the other idlis. While building the idli plates in the mold, we need to ensure that the idli has the whole of the next plate right on top of it, and then the idli again. Similarly, we need to start building this up so that the steam kind of passes equally through all the plates. We need to lock this up. And finally, this is ready to be steamed. Now for steaming, you may have an idli steamer at home. Well, if you do not, you can also use a pressure cooker without the whistle. We need to add in around 200 to 250 ml of water and allow this to come on a roll boil. The water in the pressure pan has come to a roll boil. Time to transfer this mold stand into this. We need to cover this and steam this for the next 8 minutes on high flame, but remember to not use the whistle. Idli is steamed and ready. Of course, the flame. Just allow it to settle for 2 minutes and then we shall open this. Well, the idlis have puffed up perfectly and well steamed. Let's remove this very carefully. We need to carefully unlock this and keep each plate like so. Just allow this to settle for roughly around 2 minutes and then we shall unmold them. Let's unmold the idlis, and for this I'm using a paring knife or a small knife. Well, you can also use the back of your spoon if you're comfortable with. Just turn it around completely like so, and this needs to be kept upside down. With this, our stuffed idlis are ready. And the only thing, and trust me, the only thing that would now come to your mind is whistle podu.